Is this a drill or something?
Greetings, Exalted Ones. My name is Dash. I'm incredibly excited to share with you my reaction/review of Star Wars The Force Awakens. It is absolutely the film which the fans deserve, but fair warning, there are heavy spoilers ahead before I kick it off. Now, the most important thing to me stepping into the theater was the feel. And everybody was saying, will this feel like an immersive Star Wars film without going too heavy on CGI? And it really did hit all the right notes in that regard. A lot of the practical effects were absolutely on point. The worlds, even things like the old lightsaber coming back with a newer sound and updated look, that's a hard task to make something feel familiar and yet updated. Yet J.J. Abrams did it near flawlessly. My only critique was really Maz Kanata. She seemed a little out of place in CGI, but again, outside of that, it felt so good and so right. The plot of the film was driving, moving forward at breakneck speeds. You were following many characters, but in many ways, this whole overarching "where is Luke Skywalker" was absolutely amazing, and I felt like introducing the new characters at the start was absolutely the right thing to do. From Finn to Rey, Finn is obviously this lovable klutz that, obviously wants to do the right thing, but doesn't know how to do it exactly right. Kind of like Han Solo. And Rey was the strong, independent type, but again, she was very vulnerable in the right places, and she felt like a badass. Poe Dameron was somebody that I never expected to like so much, and yet I found him very lovable. Han and Leia were back to their old tricks. I felt like there was a little bit of a jump in the plot with the whole backstory of Kylo. Seeing, Legacy of the Force or Legends in the EU, we've been caught up to this whole time, and so we feel like mentally we knew what had happened. So taking that away and just saying Luke trained some Jedi in an academy, which was incredibly exciting, that's the story, and then that's it, was hard for me to grasp without wondering how that actually looked. And I 100% are going to do a video on this. We need to see the years of Luke Skywalker in a Jedi Academy. I don't want it to be cartoon, 100% hope this is live action on Netflix or something, but outside of that, the plot was very much it covered all bases as well as it could in the time that it had, and also covering the backstory of why the people hadn't interacted with each other and why Luke Skywalker went off to find a Jedi Academy. That itself was obviously intriguing, but I feel like if you feel like you're new to the Jedi arts and you've let people down, that you're going to go back to the roots and try and seek out answers. And so that also made a lot of sense. Kylo Ren, Hux, Snoke had a very powerful dynamic. Hux being an impetuous young brash officer who was quite smart, and I still liked him despite all his flaws. Watching his rivalry with Kylo was pretty phenomenal to see somebody else, almost like seeing Tarkin and Vader. Obviously, Tarkin yanked on Vader's leash a little more successfully, but seeing them kind of square off and vie for Snoke's approval was phenomenal. Kylo Ren, the biggest moment of the movie was when Han Solo said the word Ben, and you realized that he was named after Ben Kenobi, and that he'd fallen so far from what his parents had hoped, just like Jason Solo from Legacy of the Force. Was a kick in the guts. Tears just streamed down my eyes. I knew that Han's fate was sealed, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was blown away, and I love Kylo Ren. I love his layering. I love the direction they took with him, but it was so hard to watch Han say that and try and seeing that whole rhyming, the poetry of Han trying to reach Kylo as Luke did to Vader, and for Kylo to shun him, extinguishing the light within himself so that Snoke will now train him fully, because Snoke obviously realized that Kylo still was part Jedi, and by killing Han Solo, supposedly he's given himself to the dark side. We'll find out more in episode 8, and I do want to explore it, but that was so powerful. It blew me away. Kylo Ren was pretty much the film for me. His lightsaber powers, the fights, everything. Now, Supreme Leader Snoke, obviously, he was shrouded in mystery. 25-foot hologram. He obviously is probably not that big in real life, but is still a big, I'm going to say that he's probably Plagueis. You know, there's a big chance that he is Plagueis still, and I can't wait to find out more about that, and obviously his scarring and how he was actually damaged, which Andy Serkis openly said before the film had come out. And the relationship between Kylo and his family, I just want to touch on this again quickly, was absolutely insane. I still feel in my heart that Rey is either a Solo or a Skywalker, most probably a Skywalker after seeing the Solos interact with Kylo, but her meeting Luke at the end and them not exchanging any words could absolutely change everything. If he says, "I am your father" to her in episode 8, I think I will break down and die. And a happy man, because her power in the Force was absolutely phenomenal, which brings me to the fight scenes. I was a big fan of the lightsaber combat / fighting. I still don't know if Finn has the Force, because the fact that he picked up a lightsaber and Maz Kanata actually, handed it to him kind of made me wonder. I was like, nobody should use a lightsaber unless you have the Force or some proficiency at deflecting blaster bolts, because a blaster's going to help you a lot more because you're ranged and you're protected. A lightsaber is for a Force wielder primarily. So that was very, very surprising to see, but it was also enjoyable. Regardless if he was or wasn't, Finn really did give it his best, and obviously Rey picking up the saber was insane. I loved how her Force power was developed just with her strength in the Force, and her sheer ability to tap into the light side saved her versus Kylo Ren at the end. The choreography was second to none. It wasn't as acrobatic, and it was more clumsy and more brutal than, say, the prequels, but that was what needed to happen. These people aren't fully fleshed out Jedi of old, and so they shouldn't be as acrobatic or as skilled or precise. And obviously, to even things up, Kylo with his side smacking, injury in the last fight, that made a lot of sense as well. I feel like the Millennium Falcon getting chased on Jakku was totally engrossing. I loved some of that flying, and it just blew me off my feet. But some of the flying at the Starkiller base really left me. It was a bit lackluster for me, because you had this cool plot running. You had the people on the ground, they had all of this witty, kind of pithy dialogue, and it was a lot of fun, and it harkened back to the old films. And then they kind of said, like, well, it's a base, like, it's basically the third Death Star. We can blow it up. Surely it's got a weakness. They were just like, well, we've done this before. And that kind of detracted away from it a little bit for me, that there's always going to be a thermal port or a weakness in these Death Stars. And I think that's a big part of Star Wars, is the fact that no matter how powerful you think you are, there's a weakness. But seeing it over and over again in these massive planet-sized death contraptions, even though the Starkiller base was technically new, it still felt a little bit too recycled for me. That was the only real gripe I had with the plot, because it took away from the flying. Though Poe Dameron kicking ass at Maz Kanata's castle, like the battle there, I absolutely adored that. I loved it. And all the species as well. Absolutely loved the species and the characters that we met along the way throughout the plot, and I think that the aliens looked absolutely fantastic. But again, the only one that I could pick out of the whole crowd was Maz Kanata. There's something that I just couldn't put my finger on, but there was something wrong about it. I think it was just she was more CGI heavy, whereas the practical effects looked absolutely fantastic. Now, I don't know if I loved the score, because I was so immersed in the film that I don't think I heard it that much. Now, that could be a good thing, and I could have watched it 1,000 times, and suddenly every single time John Williams' score creeps up and up and up, and it becomes more engaging. But for me, I barely noticed it. But again, very, very excited. The things I loved the most about the film was Kylo Ren and Han Solo, and their relationship was mind-blowing. The fact that it did take a lot, like it drew heavily on the expanded universe. Luke Skywalker running an academy, we need to see that in a film or a TV series. Luke Skywalker looking for the original Jedi Temple. People are saying, well, what if we had Tython back, like that planet? Like, how crazy would that be to see something like that? Obviously, Kylo being a son of the Solos and people hoping that Rey could be a Skywalker or even a Solo, doesn't really matter, but that also made me really happy to see all the ties that weren't too shoved in our face. It absolutely made so much sense. And the other thing that I absolutely adored was the Force powers and usage of it. I feel like they were on point, and seeing new Force powers, like when Rey stopped that bolt from Poe Dameron and Jakku, I was totally blown away. Or his forced mind extraction technique that he used, kind of like Mind Trick, but it was just ripping information from their brain, was crazy. And having Rey pick that up and innately know how to use that against him, that was almost on the level of scary. It was crazy too. So those were the things that I loved the most about the film. But the beauty of this conversation is it's just the start of the discussion. Our love of Star Wars surrounds and it binds us together. So let me know in the comments below, what did you love about Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens? I loved experiencing it with you, by the way, because if you love Star Wars, I absolutely want to talk to you about it. It's as simple as that. If you want to stay up to date with the latest Star Wars videos on origins, games, and theories, don't forget to use those Force powers of yours and hit subscribe. And hey, leave a comment below about what you want to see in future videos. It may just get covered. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you. Always.